The museum world is going through it at the moment. They have a lot of redundancies, and instead of focusing on that, I am going to tell you some jokes. I've been scrolling through Twitter because I have nothing else to do, like write a dissertation or a paper for a symposium. So I have been using Twitter quite often recently because, of course, I'm looking at what is happening in the museum world. And museum Twitter is great. It's amazing. You get a lot of information, you get a lot of people you might meet at some point during your museum career. This week, there was this sort of trend going around in the Twitter sphere of I have a joke about something, and obviously the museum world went in for the kill. I mean, the level of shade and tea I've seen from some tweets is astronomical. So instead of focusing on the negative, and I'll probably do a video on the whole redundancies and what is happening at the moment in the museum world, I thought that I would produce a video showing some of these jokes because they are hilarious, they are true, they hurt sometimes. So let's get into the jokes. This one is a bit crazy. So context: when coronavirus hit, some of the bigger museums got rid of their education team because they thought that, well, they are basically redundant, and they fired all the education team, which in hindsight, that should have bid them right up there. But yeah, this is the joke. I have a joke about museum education, but my department was eliminated, so the curator is going to tell it instead. And this is true because obviously curators are there to curate. But when you put them in comparison with an education team, I think the education team should win, because obviously curators are taking care of the object and doing exhibitions, but the education team is doing the activities around the exhibition. So that's at least my opinion. I have a joke about museum interpretation, but it's so badly written and longer than 150 words that it needs major editing. And let me tell you, the edits are never ending. When we were doing the exhibition here in St. Andrews, I believe one of the display team colleagues, like my colleague, told me that our interpretation panels went through about 20 to 25 edits. It was hilarious seeing how many times the interpretation text went back and forth. Text should be no longer than 150 words. Period. Now this hurts because obviously it's not the same in the UK. In Malta it's very bad, but in the UK it's a bit better. That is why I moved here, but I'm inevitably moving back to Malta. So I have a joke about art salaries, but it's too low, and that hurts. Okay, that hurts. The arts are so important to the whole world, and we're still underpaid. And this to continue, because this is actually true. This one hurts as well. I really don't want it to be negative, but these are so funny because they're so relatable. I have a joke about graduating with a museum studies degree during a pandemic, but it's depressing. 1 bachelor degree and 2 master degrees didn't get me anywhere, did they? Hopefully I'm sending out CVs and cover letters, so hopefully I hear from someone, at least an interview. I'm going to hibernate now. It's the middle of summer, I know, okay? Leave me alone. This is how the learning team goes about doing their activities. I have a joke about museum education. If you could write your own joke, what would you write about? And it's so true, because when we have an exhibition, the first question that we say, if you had this bicycle, what would you have done with it? What job you would have done with it? Then there is obviously shade for the British Museum, because obviously the British Museum is, as many other museums are in hot water because of repatriation. The British Museum holds the Parthenon marbles, which were taken off the Parthenon. There is this whole debate on returning the marbles back to the Parthenon Museum in Athens, and obviously the British Museum don't want that because, well, they think that it's their right, because the Athens Museum, the Parthenon Museum, they cannot take care of them properly like the British Museum can. Yeah, it's a touchy subject. But yeah, this one is, I have a colonialism joke, but it's in the British Museum. And there is another one which is, I have a museum joke, but it's stolen from someone else. So yeah, that is an insight of what happens in the museum Twitter sphere, as I'm going to call it from now on. Obviously, this is not what we get up to in museum Twitter. There are also many institutions, many movements. We have museum hours and museum information. Everything goes on Twitter. Even sometimes a vacancy pops up. I wanted to also make a mention of my own joke. I tried it after about 24 hours thinking about it, and of course it's some shade because, well, I'm saying the truth. But then again, it's a bit shady. But listen, I have a joke about museum jobs in Malta, but I can't seem to find it, because obviously they're rare. I'm explaining my joke, which makes it even worse. It's a bit of a short video today. Of course, come back on Wednesday and Friday. I upload Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays. Make sure to subscribe. I do museum content, hot topics that are happening at the moment. I do conservation work as well when I eventually manage to get a job. And I am currently in St. Andrews, so Fridays are going to be dedicated to St. Andrews content because it's unfortunately my last month here. But I have something to look forward to. I have a play going on in Malta on the 4th and the 5th of September, and it's part of the Cospiqua Short Play Festival. If the poster has been approved, I will put it up here. It's in Maltese, so if you're in Malta and you know Maltese, please come. It's a comedy. You will laugh, you will have a good time. It's only 16 minutes long, so if you don't like it, you can just sit there for 16 minutes and just wallow in your sorrow, or else laugh your ass off. So yes, did I say subscribe? Like the video if you want more of this content. I will see you next Wednesday, but until then, bye bye.